Hey guys, Parfax here, and today is your guide to leveling up in New World. All right, let's get started. All right, tomorrow is Fresh Start servers, and you want to know how to level up fast. Now, since launch, leveling has changed quite significantly. Basically, you don't do town boards anymore. You can do some town boards, and if you don't really have to go out of your way to do them, they are just fine, but you can actually get a lot more experience doing a few other things. So first and foremost, this is mainly going to be a questing guide. Now, there are a couple other things that you can do to level, but honestly, questing is going to be the best way to get it done. Now, before you click off this video, we actually have a few tips and tricks to help you out while you are leveling, and doing a few things can really set yourself above everyone else. All right, so when it comes to questing, we are going to try to focus on the main story mission. This is going to be the best source of XP, Azoth, and coins. Now, before we used to do a lot of town board missions, and since we're not doing that, we do need to substitute a little bit of the main story mission with some other missions as well. Now, they upped, or at least I should say decreased, the amount of experience needed to level up. They did increase a lot of other things. First thing and foremost, the thing you're going to be looking for all over the place is actually going to be lore pages. They significantly increased the lore pages, and just a couple of them can equal one full quest. So anytime you enter in a building, if you can see one, make sure you run and get it, because these are going to add up significantly. You might not think that this 150 or 200 experience doesn't mean a lot, but when you start picking up 10, 20, 40, 50, 80, 100 of them, this could easily save you hours of actually grinding for the little amount of time that it actually takes you to pick these things up. So anytime you see one, make sure you pick them up. Next, we're going to be making sure we get to the faction mission as fast as possible. Now, we're going to kind of use and abuse the faction system, and there's a couple things you should know. First, when it comes to experience, these things don't give a ton. They give about a quarter or a half of a normal, main story mission experience. But the big thing here is we are just going to be picking up missions to just go finish them as we go. Now, the one thing to note here is you don't have to turn them in as soon as you get them. We're not going to be completing a massive amount of these, but we do get to do 3 bonuses per day. Now, it is the first 3 quests you turn in, not the first 3 quests you complete. So pick them up and do them. But if you have something like maybe you have a Windsward one, but you're going to be in Brightwood by the end of the day, make sure you go do them, complete your Windsward ones, but don't actually turn them in. Go to Brightwood, finish those, and then turn them in. You'll get the bigger experience bonus there. Now, I know your OCD may be saying, oh my God, I have this green marker on my screen, turn it in. You can, but just note that if you do that, you will be losing experience. So complete them, but don't have to turn them in. Make sure you turn in the 3 biggest ones for the day. Then the easiest way to know that is just a higher level zone will give you more experience. So try to get to Brightwood maybe day 1, or you can get to even Cutlass, who even knows, even Shattered Mountain, and do those first. Now the PvE quests give you more experience, so make sure you're trying to complete them over other things. Now, because we're talking a little bit about the PvP quests, you can flag up for PvP. This will give you, of course, a 10% experience bonus. But the thing here is, unless you are not ahead of everybody, you're going to get into a lot of PvP battles. Now, that is something that I absolutely love. In playing New World the first time when the game just started, I had a blast just killing people over and over again and dying and killing and dying, and it was an absolute blast. So if you're not looking to, get ahead of the curve, just note that if you flag up, you are going to run into a lot of PvP, and honestly, it's probably going to slow your progression down. But if you can get ahead of the curve, then you can really utilize that 10% experience over everybody else. When it comes to how we prioritize quests, honestly and very simply, it's going to be ease of completion, meaning if it just goes in town, I'm going to go ahead and complete those pretty fast, even if they don't give a ton of experience. If I just have to walk over and talk to somebody that's not really out of my way, I'm going to do it because it's just going to give me a nice little boost of experience. And then we're going to pick up almost every quest that we see, but we're not going to complete them. If I move on from a zone, for instance, if I go from Windsward to Everfall and I don't think I'm going back to Everfall, feel free just to drop them. Now, the one thing to note is there are some quests that are not droppable. So when you go to do your faction missions, which you can start at level 17, you can actually pick up all 3 of the missions. Now, the other 2 missions, or whichever faction you don't want to join, they don't particularly give that great of experience until about the last quest. They do give some decent rewards, but you really don't need them that early on. Just note that if you pick them up, you have to complete them because you can't drop them. So they will always be on your radar no matter what. You can unpin them, but you can't actually drop them. So if you don't plan on finishing them, I just wouldn't pick them up. Next, you're cruising, you're leveling up, you're in your 20s now, and you got some coin to spend. Now, some people are going to tell you to, well, not buy your first house until you can buy your 20K one, and you can save 10,000 on that. Which, that is a smart money decision, but if you're really looking to level up as fast as possible, the best thing to do is the moment you can get a house, which will be 2,500, I'm going to go to a town and buy one. Now, I'm not going to go as soon as I hit 2,500 or 2,000 if it is in the town that you own, or you can just transfer companies and it'll allow you to buy a house at a cheaper rate. But just note that your first house is half off and you'll be losing a little bit of coin in the back end, but honestly, you're only losing about 7,500 coins. And in all honesty, it is well worth the hours it is going to save you in travel time. The reason for this is you're going to find yourself, especially once you get into your 30s and 40s, you're going to have a lot of quests that are going to make you run all over the place. Now, the very beginning starting areas got a nice little revamp, giving you a lot of travel shrines, which is going to make it feel really good. But once you start moving into areas like Brightwood, Cutlass, Morningdale, they're going to be long runs. Now, of course, you want to set your into a town. It honestly doesn't really matter which one. I try to pick whichever one I'm going to trade in, but that's on a long cooldown, and when questing, it is going to save you a massive amount of time to be able to port back to your house, and you can do that just by resetting your cooldown. All you have to do is click on your house, even if it has a timer, it has a button that says reset your cooldown. Click on it, and then it resets, and then you can port to the house and then port to wherever you need. This will legitimately be your biggest time saver while leveling. This will allow you to get ahead of people that just aren't doing it because they're trying to save some money, and then in turn will save you even more time because you're so far ahead of everybody that it's going to allow you to just kill all the mobs with ease. Now, if you're not really worried about leveling up as fast as possible, then it's cool to wait a couple days to buy your house. Now, you do have to be 10 in that town to actually buy a house, so keep that in mind. And the best thing to do there is if you do a bunch of quests, if you do some town board missions, it's an easy way to get your level up in that town. When it comes to leveling up your towns, it's a little bit controversial. I think the best thing to do, honestly, of course, is storage. Everybody always picks storage when it's up. But getting extra territory standing is actually a really good thing. I'm going to pick a spot on launch, will probably be Windsward, Morningdale, Everfall, something like that. And I'm going to make it my main town. This means I'm going to do all of my crafting there, which is going to give me a lot of rep for that town. And it's going to be a place that I can just keep my biggest house. Now, wherever I buy my first house doesn't mean that's going to be my main house, because honestly, you have so much storage in the game that you don't have to worry about your storage for a very long time. If you didn't know, storages are now linked in a way, well, at least you can access them from any storage location. All you have to do is if you want something in Everfall to bring into Windsward, you just go into the Everfall bank, you pull it into your inventory, and then from your inventory, you can put it in the Windsward bank. This means if you need storage, all you actually have to do is just go to another settlement and it'll give you extra storage. Now, even if you don't plan on doing PvP, it is a good thing to complete some of the missions because you will have to complete them and level them up. They are very essential for doing things like your heart rune gems, getting chisels if you want to make some orbs, or just a bunch of other things. So make sure you're doing some of those quests as you go because you do want to level it. Now, if you want to be as efficient as possible, honestly, you can wait till you're level 60, go to Reekwater or Shattered Mountain, and just complete the quest there. I haven't tested Brimstone, but I'm sure Brimstone would be a good place as well. And you can level it up pretty quickly doing it that way, but you're going to be a little bit behind early on, especially on Fresh Start. It's going to be very important to get things like your bags, and you're going to need the runes from the faction vendor to get them. So make sure you're at least leveling them up a little bit. Next, as you're traversing the world, make sure you're gathering items. Now, I'm not going to stop and gather everything, but there's a few items you really should know that you should gather. First, if you see ore on the ground, specifically iron, pick it up. I really shouldn't tell you this because if you're on my server, I don't want you to pick it up, but honestly, it is by far the most valuable resource in the game at launch. Cutting trees and stuff like that, you'll be able to do that pretty much no matter what. You can hit rocks no matter what, but those are going to be very big. Now, Hyssop is going to be also something that is kind of valuable, but you can get a lot of potions and stuff by opening up chests, which make sure you open up as many as you see, because even though you might not think that, well, I'm only level 5, it doesn't matter if I open up this chest, you can actually get stuff that is not only valuable right now, but could be valuable down the road. They switched it to where all of the refining reagents are actually now the same, so you can get obsidian flux at level 1. So make sure when you see every crate, make sure you open them because it is going to be a great source of either income or just stuff you're going to need to use later on down the road. When it comes to picking weapons, honestly, at the very first few levels, I'm going to use Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield has the highest base damage of any weapon right off the bat. Its DPS is the highest in the game, and depending on who you ask, or at least now second highest next to the Greatsword, but especially at levels 1 through about 15, there's nothing that is going to outperform the Sword and Shield. Now, part of the reason why it's so powerful is because its base damage is very high, but if you can even get 2 weapons, the shield and the sword, it can really give you a nice pump in damage. You can get like enchanted on the sword or vicious on the shield, and you can get a 2 perk weapon by having 2 single perk weapons, which is going to be really hard at launch. Now, mainly, it doesn't really matter what you run. Some weapons are better than others, but it's all about speed. You will be running very long distances for a very long time, so you want speed. Things like the bow, the hatchet, the rapier, even things like the great axe are very good. If you want to run something like, I don't know, Great Sword Warhammer, that's fine, but just note that you're going to be running slower than other people. Now, you do get a 15% speed bonus while you're on the road, but honestly, if you're in light armor and just using a few of the speed weapons, or at minimum a hatchet with light armor, you're going to run faster than being on the road. So if you want to just kind of AFK run, you can just hit auto run and then be on a road and just chill out, and that is perfectly fine. But putting on a weapon for running speed, even if you don't plan to level with it, you can get to the hatchet, level it up 2 times, and you will get the speed passive 3 times, and you get the extra heal. Now, when it comes to healing, everybody's going to tell you potions, potions, potions. And potions are good. But honestly, getting basic food is even better. Now, it does affect you whenever you get hit. It does stop the regen. But it is, in early levels, by far the most powerful heal that you can get. So I always try to have, at minimum, a bunch of water on me. And more than likely, I will have a bunch of food on me. Now, you get the food just by skinning regular mobs, which is fine because skinning is the easiest thing to level. You will, if you ever get bored, just go start skinning wolves and then skinning leopards and just start skinning a bunch of animals because it's the fastest profession to level. and you should probably have it maxed out by the time you get 60. Now, you don't have to, and with the questing changes, you don't have to do town board missions. You don't have to grind that out nearly as much, but it actually gives you a lot of experience. So the materials that you gather, I'm not turning them into town boards anymore. I'm actually just going to craft with them. They up the amount of experience you get from crafting, gathering, refining. So now when we gather, craft, and refine, we're actually going to get even more experience. So if you get a bunch of hide, make sure you turn them into, or if you get a bunch of rough leather, turn them into coarse hide, and then continue refining them up, and then try to find things to craft with them. It'll give you a nice boost of experience. Now, if you're just going to do it here and there, then you probably should just sell it, because you don't really start getting a ton of experience until you start getting to the ends of these things. But you're going to run a level up, especially your refining, no matter what. So at minimum, I would refine it and then probably put it on the trade market to make a little bit extra coin. Now, the last tip I'm going to tell you is honestly just have fun. The leveling experience has been made a lot shorter recently, and it's not going to take you much more than a couple days to hit level 60. After that, you're of course going to do your expertise grind. This is mainly going to be done through chest runs. Chest runs are going to be something that you have to do. Chest runs you'll find in a recruitment chat, and it'll just be people will go from zone to zone, looting every chest out there. It gives you a ton of stuff you're going to need for your refining. It's going to give you a ton of expertise bumps, and it's going to give you a ton of really cool drops as well as possibly getting one of those legendary mats. Legendary mats or trophy mats, which are just items that you use to craft better trophies, are going to be extremely valuable. Every single one will be very valuable at launch. This will be the bottleneck for most people. Now, when it comes to crafting and refining, you are going to be negated a little bit because you're not going to have the max level stations. Just know that you can go to places like the outposts up north. They will all have a tier 3. So if you don't have someone that has a tier 3, that'll be a place that you can go find it. But you'll have to wait for the towns to level up past tier 3 before you can start doing anything. Now, when it comes to making food, you can actually get your food up right off the bat, because you can have your tent, which you can make food at. All you do is I would just take the tent, take it right outside of town, and plop it down there. You will get nice town experience. So you can level up your town reputation in that town, and you won't have to abide by the crafting fees. Now, you don't get some of the extra stuff, but honestly, when it comes to hearty meals and stuff like that, which you'll be using to level up your cooking, you really don't need that many hearty meals. But again, make sure you have your food on you at all times, or at minimum water, because it is the best source of healing while you are leveling. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was just a few tips that you should know while leveling. It's pretty easy now. Just go ahead, do a bunch of quests. Don't go too far out of your way for the quest unless you're just kind of OCD and want to complete them. It is the best way to make money. It's the best way to level up. They've really streamlined the leveling process. You don't have to grind town board missions over and over and over again. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.